What's up, YouTube? Jeff back again today on the very exciting Samsung video for you guys. And today we have something very different and hopefully interesting. You guys may have noticed in the last couple months, there's been a lot more leaks about upcoming One UI builds. Specifically, One UI 8 had a lot of leaked builds that were not part of the official beta. I ran a bunch of them. We covered them at Sammy Guru and I made videos about them. Some of you like it, some of you hate it. Seeing them early, you'd rather see it in the official beta or even wait for stable. But they've been there. And so you might have wondered how that happened. Well, it turns out people were able to get these builds from Samsung servers directly and then decrypt them. But that has now come to a screeching halt thanks to a report from one user letting Samsung know how is this being done. So I want to talk about this because we covered this story. I find it kind of interesting for enthusiasts. And if you're an average user, you might find it kind of curious as well. To let you know that you probably won't be seeing too many leaked builds for One UI 8.5 and One UI 9.0 or whatever they decide to call it, because this has now been patched by Samsung. So before we get started, I do remind you guys, look at the website, sammyguru.com. Get in the mystery box program if you're ordering an upcoming Galaxy device. The S26 Ultra program is open. The foldable program will probably be closed by the time I post this video. We're shipping those boxes. They ship by July 31st. But the next pre-order program will be the S26 Ultra, and the info for the signups on that is already on the page. So this is the article wrote by our good guy, Josh Skinner, who's one of our writers at Sammy Guru. And basically what happened here, just to go through the story, he does a great outline. The internal builds were leaking because the community, the Samsung community of enthusiasts, made a C# tool that allowed a user to interact with Samsung's over-the-air servers, their FOTA servers. And with the right information, you could use this to access internal development builds, and then you could decrypt the firmware if you had the correct information from a tool like CheckFirm. Now, if you don't know what CheckFirm is basically a way to go and spot new builds that Samsung is working on their test servers. A lot of those guys that you see post, pretty much all of them that you see post these early build numbers for specific devices over on X and Instagram and Threads, Reddit, these guys get that information from CheckFirm. And it's an app that you can download. So if you go to the Galaxy Store, or rather the Play Store, if you go to the Play Store, you can just download this application yourself. CheckFirm's right here. If you want to play around with this, you could. You need to have a little bit of know-how to really, do what some of these guys do. I'm not saying they don't do anything, but the application is there. I'll link it below if you want to check it out and play around with it yourself. Anyway, that's where they got the builds from. This paved the way for a lot of One UI 8 leaks. Like we said, even we covered it. We had our hands on early builds. I still have one on my international S25 Ultra. We spotted the original overhaul to secure folder, which they moved out of the work profile to make it more secure. I made a video about that on the Sammy Guru channel. The overhaul to Samsung DeX, which coincides with the new Android desktop mode that Michelle Rahman covered over on Android Authority, and a bunch of other stuff. All websites dug into this. And for me, I love seeing it because obviously I am a hardcore enthusiast. And during the One UI 7 slowdown in development, it gave a lot of people in the community some hope that Samsung was still making progress when we weren't really seeing any official beta builds trickle out and things like this. I see it as a positive, but some people didn't like it because they're like, well, these builds, they're just giving people false expectations and making people angry that the stable build's not here, etc. Whatever. So time went on, more people jumped on board, and we've seen hundreds of people now posting these leaked builds and using CheckFirm to grab this information, and people are getting lots of clicks and engagement off of this. And lots of guys have been doing it, like Faroon Report, for years, but more people have come on in recent months. This led to the discovery of the redesigned tile system in the One UI 8 Watch release as well. So it's getting popular, and of course that gets more exposure to it, and that means that also it brings more attention for people who might not like it. Our fellow writer, Gerwin Van Giesen at Sammy Guru, he discovered the latest report from someone who was named Faroon, who received compensation for this discovery of how people were decrypting the firmware and actually obtaining this and then getting it out to people. And he sent this message to the Samsung security team. Dear Samsung security team, I'd like to report a possible security and confidentiality breach involving the unauthorized access and distribution of internal OTA builds. A C# file is circulating which appears to interact directly with Samsung's OTA servers. The file is capable of retrieving internal test firmware and uses a method compatible with tools like CheckFirm to decrypt metadata or access pre-release firmware, potentially bypassing standard access controls. The tool may be leveraging internal URLs or endpoints related to the FTA. key decryption logic embedded in the C# file, and app signatures are tokens meant for internal use only. This poses significant risks as builds meant for internal testing are being accessed and shared publicly on Telegram forums, violating confidentiality and potentially exposing unpatched software. If you like, I can show more technical details or code excerpts privately without disclosing anything publicly or violating terms. Please let me know the best way to proceed securely. So basically, it seems like Faroon was trying to get some kind of bounty from Samsung for supporting this vulnerability, which of course they do offer if you discover, significant vulnerabilities. Whether or not he actually gets paid, who knows? But we wrote this story up. I also had someone send me an email via tips with a conversation that I couldn't confirm that they said was with Faroon himself on Telegram, where Faroon said that the reason he was reporting this was primarily because he was worried about the general security of users' devices, and that it didn't seem to be a monetary thing. But I don't know that I fully believe that. We also weren't able to independently verify the conversation, and it's kind of hard to verify because obviously people are using online screen names and things like that. Anyway, of course Samsung reserves the right to keep all their development private if they want, but this also is something the community loved, and I think people are going to be disappointed that it's gone, at least the enthusiast community. At the end of the day, One UI 8.5 leaks, they're probably not coming very fast. We're going to keep you up to date on everything that goes with Samsung updates if we can. It just might not be as fast. Going forward, it could be very slow for One UI 8.5 because we don't have these leaked builds. We might have to wait for an official beta to get a lot of information if we don't see anything from our usual leak source like Ice Universe, who presumably used this method as well, or some of his sources used this method to leak him information that he shared, in past One UI 8 launches before the betas came out. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think. This is obviously a very niche thing, very enthusiast thing, but we do cover that at Sammy Guru, and a lot of you guys are enthusiasts like me and want to know about these things, so I wanted to give you a heads up. Let me know what you guys think about this. I appreciate you guys checking out the content. Check out the website for more great news, the Mystery Box program if you're interested. Appreciate you guys checking out this video. Of course, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.